Could you just talk for me for a second, just like count to 10?
1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4,
nice.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, it's working. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, mine's working too.
Amazing.
Good. So, and am I in shot?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
helpful.
you're in shot. Yeah, here we go. So, here we are.
Hello.
Welcome. Welcome to the BTS Creative Academy podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning. So my biggest worry about our conversation today, I'm going to be completely honest, is that I pronounce your name correctly.
What do you think it's?
Marisol?
Yes, that's perfect.
Marisol?
Marisol, yeah.
Marisol? Oh, okay, phew. You know, I was on
You don't want to be that person.
Where does the name come from?
It's Hispanic. My mum's Colombian.
Nice.
And it means sea and sun. Marisol.
Marisol. Oh, lovely.
Quite like
So yes, welcome to the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Marisol.
Thank you for having me.
Today we're at the Megaro Hotel, which I like to start these conversations with saying thank you to this hotel. They offer me the space to record the podcast, and they're currently being a massive support, and I truly am grateful for allowing us to be here. First of all, what do you make of the place? Arrived for the first time?
It was stunning. I felt very special walking. No, it does have this sort of aura of like creativity and charm, and so welcoming as well. The only thing is, I feel like I'd get lost in it.
It is like there's a labyrinth to it. As you turn each corner, there's something new to discover.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, you wouldn't get bored in here. I mean, you could get lost and quite happily just sit down anywhere and.
It's kind of like, I feel like every time I walk in here, there's a different story in every room.
Yeah, it's been made with love, for sure, definitely. Warm.
Yeah,
warm
very, very welcoming. So yes, we're here. I recently saw you in a show at the Victoria Hall Theatre, and asked you to come on the podcast after seeing your performance, which I very much enjoyed your performance within that show.
Thank you very much.
I love the energy that you brought to the role.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons that I wanted to speak to you.
Okay.
Because
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, well, every now and then I don't know. Over the years, I've watched actors, and when I saw you for the first time, I didn't know you. And it's not that I'm saying you're a good actor or a bad actor. I'm not judging in that way. But sometimes when I'm watching people, I can see a different kind of energy that you're bringing to the piece.
Okay.
Something that stands out. And I'm trying to work out what that is.
Lord knows. You tell me.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of that. I remember seeing it when I saw Heath Ledger in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
Before he was kind of big. I was like, he's got something that's going to go somewhere, that energy. And then I see it in others. I'm beginning to recognise what that energy is. When I see it, I'm like, yes, you've got the energy. Yes, you want to do this. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your acting then. Why is it you want to do this, be a performer?
I saw someone say this the other day, and it was like, when you have a calling, it will keep calling. And I think that's what's happened with me with acting. I've always loved performing, even as a little kid, you know, in front of the parents in the living room, and did little plays at school, and I loved it. And I would write as well, write stories. So it's all about storytelling for me. And every time I try and get away from it, you know, society kind of pulls you towards an academic route or pulls you where your parents want you to go in life. I keep getting dragged right back into it, and I just can't stay away. So yeah, I think Vanta Black, the performance that you saw me in, was just that reignition of this like spark. It's almost like a flame that can't quite go out. Yeah. So
that's,
kind of
that calling's really, really an interesting thing. Sorry, I just caught a glimpse of my camera on there, and it looks like I didn't press the record button. No, I did. It's just showing that in reverse I've not pressed the record button. In reverse I've not. Ignore me. I have moments like that where my brain goes.
We're gonna be like,
did I press record? Like this is the only part of my job that I have to.
You got one job.
I got one thing to do. I need to press the record button. Yes, I did. I did. It's fine. We're recording. But so that calling is really interesting. I actually saw a thing on social media recently where Steven Spielberg spoke about that calling, and he said the calling. It's not a shout. It's a whisper. Yeah. It's something that keeps poking at you. So
it's annoying.
It's annoying, and you can't escape it. So when you hear the whisper, what are you hearing then?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. What am I hearing? It's almost like someone is moving me. Like it's like being moved. It's not entirely like a conscious choice of my own. And if I don't answer it, then, you know, things start going wrong, or I'm unhappy, I get depressed, I have to answer it, otherwise I can't do anything else. I literally can't. It's so...
I find that, it's interesting you say about things going wrong. I find for me, when I'm stepping away from where my calling is, life just doesn't feel right. There's like the energy gets off.
The flow
of everything has gone. So for people that don't know what their calling is, have you got any ideas how they begin to find it?
Oh yeah, just try things. Like if you have interests, start there. Like another one is, or a big one for me, was finding role models, people that inspire you, traits that inspire you. I look back on stories that I used to read and traits that I admired in other people and realised, oh no, these are traits that I admire in myself. Okay, what did these people do with their lives? And then sort of followed that. Yes, yeah. But all you can do is try. New things, and you will hear that whisper one day.
So who's been a role model to you then? Who's someone that you've looked at?
The first person that pops into my head is my good friend and mentor, Heather McRae. She's the CEO of the charity Ideas Foundation, and they work getting kids into the creative industries. And she found me at a time where I was very, very low, very depressed. I was working a job that did not resonate with me in any way. And she knew I was a writer. And she said, come interview for this role. So I did, and I got it. And I got to be in a space surrounded by creative people, young people who had so much potential in the same way that I did. Wow. And yeah, I'm forever grateful for her, because she sort of saw that spark and went, go.
Wow, that's amazing when you can find someone that's a mentor, and not just like I mentioned, someone like Steven Spielberg, someone's out there in the big wide world that everyone knows, but you found someone on a personal level that's helped drive you forward.
She's amazing.
I've not heard of the Ideas Foundation. Should I have heard of it?
Yes, I think everyone should have heard of it. I think the Ideas Foundation has such a great idea. They help kids from all over the country. They run workshops in photography, acting, building people's CVs so that when they do choose to go to uni or go into work, that they actually have experience. Building confidence is a big one. They do a lot of work on social media literacy, mental health. They're just doing the work, establishments should be doing.
Right, okay.
But it was a pleasure to work with them.
So they're a charity?
They're an education charity,
They're an educational charity.
Everyone should have a look. Fund if you can. Yeah, they're amazing.
So take me back then to when you first discovered them, when you first discovered the Ideas...
The Ideas Foundation.
The Ideas Foundation. How did that come about then? Where was you in your life at that point?
So I was working as a nursery practitioner. I'd been doing that for 1.5 years, and I was exhausted. It's a very underfunded industry, very understaffed, and quite exploitative of their workers.
In what way?
It's such an important job. It allows people to go to work, keep the economy going, and yet so underpaid. Poor resource management. Just, I've never worked anywhere like it before. And all the staff are amazing that I worked with. They're the most inspirational people I've met. But when you're nurturing young people at such an important developmental,
Their foundation. It's the foundation.
It's their foundation.
It's everything that they're going to build on. They're going to build on this, aren't they? And it's so clear.
And it's such a big job looking after this many, people, kids. And in a similar way with the elderly, they're just overlooked, and it's such a shame. and I just couldn't do it anymore. I felt like I wasn't able to give my all to the job. I saw a class through to the end of their year and I thought, I've got to get out now, because the emotional attachment as well was hard to sort of break away from, despite it affecting my own well-being. So yeah, I remember I was applying for jobs and I was getting rejected left, right and centre, and I can remember sitting in my car just being like reading my emails, just being like, I just can't do this anymore. And Heather would come home and see me sitting in her garden in the corner, bless her, because she's my landlady. Glass of wine and a fag, just clearly having the worst.
Just trying to escape the reality of your day.
Yeah, just having the worst time. And I think I just bummed her out so much that she was like, come and interview. So I read up about it and I thought it was great. And there was obviously something that resonated with me about I would have taken any job, honestly. But there was something about the role that resonated with me. And I think it came at such an important time. It was such a clear message of like, build your confidence, love, see your potential.
Yeah. See, an important time. So then, I've had moments in my life where I've gone like, this was the road I could have gone down, but I've gone here instead. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, I go back to that calling. It was the calling that made me get back on the right path. Yeah. But if I'd have gone the other way, or if you'd have gone the other way, what would that have looked like then?
Oh, probably
without the Ideas Foundation.
Still working at the nursery, smoking fags and drinking wine.
And that would have been
that would have been my life, and I would have been happy doing that. But I think you've got to take risks. Like, you've got to just try something new. It's that breaking a cycle, and being depressed is.
There's no way to spend this. We're only here for a small amount of time.
Exactly.
Like, why should we waste it in this feeling of depression? Is kind of like nothingness, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very empty.
It's very empty.
And
whereas,
it's so lonely.
Whereas, what does it feel like having this creative life now?
I just feel like everyone's my friend. Like, I feel like the openness, because that's what depression does. It closes you off to everything. It shuts you behind a curtain. And you believe that that's it, you are there behind this curtain and there's nothing behind it. You come out of it and you realise there's so many people and so many opportunities and so much love and community and people willing to help you. And like, even on the way down here, I got on the train, there were a bunch of ladies sitting on the floor having Prosecco. And I was like, oh, this looks like such a vibe. And they just, they were like, join us. Like, that would never have happened like 2-3 years ago.
No, why not? Why would that have been different?
Body language, shoulders hunched up, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I'm looking at the floor. I would never have had the confidence to comment on someone else's day. Whereas now it's like, why not? Everything's a collaborative space. Like, this is a collaborative space. So yeah, it's just, everyone just wants to hype each other up.
Once I started to embrace, it's strange, I've lived a creative life for a long time, but we spoke a little bit before I pressed record about my voice. Yeah. I was very frightened of speaking up. I was very scared of what I might say and how that might be judged, even though I was trying to be an actor, a director, and doing all the creative things. But at the same time, me as a person, I was like, I can't say this because of this consequence, and my brain would just go to all these different unreal scenarios that if I spoke up. So it's taken a lot of work for me to now sit here and just
the fear of being perceived.
The fear has gone. But recently I went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and I found that I discovered I had changed because I would just walk up to people and talk to people. And you're so right about that body language, that being open and being relaxed. I didn't even realise that I was doing it. No. But as you mentioned it, I'm thinking back to some of the encounters I had, and I was just relaxed, and everything was okay, and it was okay for me to speak.
It's
Nothing
safe.
bad. It's safe because I think I was in a safe environment.
Yeah.
I'm around other creatives. Is that environment always safe though?
I think if you are secure in yourself, you can make it a safe space, and you can also have the power to remove yourself from a space as well, regardless of whether you want to be there or not, because an environment can be safe and you can still not want to be there. Getting to know yourself and your body, and when it's giving you those signals of like, there's something amiss here, you know, like my gut is telling me there's something, and being able to say, okay, do you know what? This isn't my tribe. This isn't my group of people. This isn't part of my calling. You know, let's just go home and have a cup of tea.
The gut and the voice are linked quite closely, aren't they? It took me a long time to realise that my body was giving me signals to a bad situation.
Oh God, so long. Oh my God.
I was like, I had these horrible feelings and this horrible sensation going on with my body. And sometimes I would even be in moments where I would meet someone and I'd be almost shaking.
Like panic attack.
Like panic attack. And it would be like, my body's saying that this person isn't someone that I should be connected with. I might fancy this person. They might look pretty, but the energy that they're giving, my body knows that energy is wrong. So listen to it.
Yes.
And because I didn't listen, it got me in those bad situations.
Yeah, and then the flow falls apart, and it's chasing what's not meant for you, where you start like tumbling. You know, you have those little spills in life, but yeah, it's still a learning curve.
Yeah, exactly. Even I'm talking like I know what's going on. Like,
oh, no one does. We're on a big floaty rock going through space. What's going on?
Like, what is this all about? Yeah, I'm just trying to figure some of it out, and even then, I'm like, why? Why am I trying to figure it out?
The amount of times I catch myself laughing because I'm like, this is so ridiculous. What is going on?
Well, actually, see, I come to why. So why is a good question. So for me, I do know why. I do know why I'm trying to figure it out. I know, and again, we spoke about this on the lift in the way up, about how this place would be epic if you were on mushrooms. And for me, a little journey like that started off my why. That gave me that question, a little psychedelic journey. That was filled with whys, and then since then, I guess it's more of that.
Just constantly why?
Why?
I love asking why. Like I will chew people's ears off looking for context and looking for reasons behind what they're doing or why something was done. And oftentimes I'll never get the answer that I'm hoping for, but I'm still learning. And I think that's one thing, like as an actor as well, it's like you never finish learning. Like you're always, I feel like you're always a junior no matter what level you're at.
Yes, and anyone that thinks differently,
you're an idiot.
Well, you've got something to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Haven't you? If you think different, if you think, oh, I know everything there is to know about this skill, this talent, this exploration that I'm on, then there's clearly something you're missing.
Yeah, like you've not quite got it. But
you've not quite got it if you think that. And so far, actually, when I speak to people and sit down, I've done about 300 odd of these conversations now, wide variety of different people in different crafts. And most people are open to that, if not all of the people I've spoken to, they're open to that idea that they have, that they're still trying to find out the answer. I've got no idea
what's going on. I'm blagging like every single second of every day, like honestly.
Yeah.
And for anyone that, you know, saw me on stage and thinks I'm confident, and no, I'm not, like, it's such an act, like constantly.
Tell me more about that then, because I've recently looked at your social media and your blogs. I've had a look at your blogs, and you do come across as someone extremely confident. That's the. If I didn't know, I didn't know you before we started speaking today, and I would go, Marisol is an extremely confident person.
Do it even though you're scared, because no one knows otherwise. Like, unless, like, I sit here and I say, Joe, I'm really nervous and I'm a little bit like flustered, and I've never been on a podcast before. Like, it doesn't change anything. What it could have done and has done in the past is stop me from coming.
Yes.
And creating that opportunity for collaboration and community. But that's never going anywhere. Because
that scared feeling, is that the same as the gut feeling?
No. The gut feeling is much lower. I think that it's in your chest, the fear. Like, it's very heavy and it's very... I described it in therapy as like a ball of steel. And it can grow and it can shrink, and it's not you. It's something else. It's, whether someone spoke badly to you when you're a child, or, bullying, anything like that. That's that ball of steel that you sort of carry around in your chest. And honestly, the best thing to do is just treat it with kindness. I think I tried so long to ignore it, but you just have to be like, it's okay that you're there. Like, you're good. We're safe.
I'm reading a book at the moment called Big Magic. I forget the name of the writer. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Yes.
I think I'm going to say her name's Elizabeth something. Shrew. I'm sorry, I'm not good on referencing. But the book is called Big Magic, and it's about creativity. And she mentions in that about acknowledging fear and saying, you're part of my life, you're here, you exist, but not today. Today you're not going to have a voice. Like it's almost like treating these emotions like people. And you can be horrible to these emotions, or you can be kind to them. But as like people, if you want to get the best out of them, kindness is the way. So if you approach your fear with kindness and say, yes, you're here today, I acknowledge you, I understand that you want a piece of my life and you are here, but I'm not going to be listening to you today.
Yeah, I think acknowledging your emotions and just being kind to them is the best way forward, because you can't beat yourself better. Like, it's not going to work. And you could try. I mean, I did for so long. Like, yeah, definitely. But it's only since turning that around and treating myself with kindness and love and respect that I've actually then created that in my external world as well. I don't know if you have that sometimes where you kind of fall into yourself a bit too much.
Oh, yeah, all the time,
So annoying. And then you realise and you're like, I'm so out of touch, and you are so in touch with yourself and your feelings and your emotions and your inner world, but you forget everything going on outside, and you kind of go, wow.
See, so that was something that sparked a lot of encouragement in myself, that if you consider how much... So what, like I was saying about my fear of speaking, that was because I was always worried about the interpretation of others of me. And as soon as I considered that, I was like, well, if in my brain I'm always trying to work out myself and thinking about my world, that's probably what's going on in other people's brains. They're probably never thinking about me or what I do, or they probably don't give a shit.
That's so funny that you mentioned that, because I was thinking about this the other day. You can have a conversation with someone else in the same language, and we're talking about totally different things right now. Like, every single interpretation that we're having, you're probably having a different conversation to me right now. And it's the same with reading a book. You know, everyone will read that differently and interpret it differently. But you can get very close to understanding the other person and being on the same level. But we're never, ever, ever going to understand each other in the way that we want to. And that's okay. It's that being okay with that and enjoying what you're creating in your own head and what the other person's creating.
And that's very relevant right now with politics. The political landscape is very divided, and everyone has an opinion, has their opinion, their way of seeing the world. And we try and communicate, but we're kind of like, I feel like everyone's, if you look at America especially, we're just like butting heads. We're just like, we're all speaking, but we're not listening. No.
That's the thing. It's just listening for the sake of listening in the acting world as well as in the real world is so important. People don't listen. And if you're not listening, why should the other person? Unfortunately. And that's what it boils down to. It doesn't have to be an argument every single time, but it will. And because people take their feelings as opinion rather than having an educated and informed opinion, which is a privilege, it will always boil down to that miscommunication.
It's acting that taught me how to listen. And it's strange because when you start off as an actor, you get a script and you're learning the words in which you're putting so much effort into everything that you're putting out external, aren't you? That is all the training goes into external. How am I speaking? How am I moving? And you overanalyze everything as an actor that you're doing. But the listening bit is the hard bit. And is the bit that makes you a good actor, I think. Is the discovery of listening. So how did you discover listening?
This is so weird. One of my favourite things to do as an actor, preparing for a role is to go on stage and touch everything, like all the objects, all the props. This has a point, I promise.
Okay.
To touch everything and listen to the objects and the story that they're giving me and the relation that I have to them. Because listening isn't just words, it's body language, it's physical presence, it's and objects can talk to us, they tell a story much the same way people do. And then once I've done that, I'm really bad at learning my lines, which means I have a lot of space to listen to other people because I'm in my own, you know, little world most of the time. I have to be listening to them to get the gist of what I'm about to say and make it up.
I understand what you're saying, but if anyone was listening into this conversation and they're like, items give you feeling, items as talking to you, what does that even mean?
What does that mean?
Like let's say we're sat here right now, right? Okay.
She's mad.
So yeah, exactly. So to some it would be like that. It would be like this. What have we got here? Okay, the nearest thing I can grab, a glass dish. Like, what does this say to you? Like how is this speaking to you?
So it's like, I don't know.
Like it's quite heavy.
It's heavy. It's got a weight. You can see that it holds something.
Okay.
I don't know what I would put in it. Maybe like stones.
Yeah.
I quite like this. It's not bad. Like
it's a very unique bowl.
It's very unique, and you know, I probably would see this in a charity shop. I wouldn't buy it personally. I don't really like it that much. I probably wouldn't interact with it that much. You know, it's heavy. I'd probably drop it and smash it.
So I was going to go to maybe an item has some history, but I'm getting the vibe of not liking this because this item feels quite new. And so it hasn't got it hasn't necessarily got a backstory.
No.
Whereas if, like you mentioned, charity shops, you go into a charity shop, everything in there has got a backstory.
Has a history,
Has a history to it.
Has an energy.
Has an energy, and you can kind of. I feel like you can kind of tap into that history and that energy.
Yeah, I think.
Should I take the bowl back?
Oh, yeah, go on.
it's quite heavy.
It's my friend now.
It's your friend now. We made peace with the bowl.
Sorry, Bob. Oh, gosh. I think a lot of it's observational as well. Like when you're listening to someone and picking up on their body language. It's so hard to explain what I mean because a lot of it is very subjective and it's not tangible. If you are in touch with yourself and you really get to know yourself and you are able to feel those shifts in energy within yourself, then you will be sensitive to others. The more in touch you are with yourself, the more you will be with others. And that goes for items as well. That goes for, you know, people who think they can feel ghosts in a building. Yeah. You know, people who can feel energy or something bad's happened here, you know, or this is a place where lots of people have partied. I don't know if you've ever been into a space where you can tell lots of people have been having fun, but the energy is different than if a wake had been held in there. You know, you can feel that juju.
So you're really you're answering questions. We started off this with like I'm on this quest for find out why, but you're answering questions that I've got. So without even knowing it. So when I was young, I saw a lot of ghosts.
I have seen a ghost before, just one.
I had so many experiences. Like it's almost uncountable the amount of experience I had up until about the age of 15, 16. And they do say that that's quite common, that and it can be childhood trauma of some sort that can be kicking it off. And I kind of always tried to pull apart and figure out why that was. But since I've been doing this, I've started to have these experiences again.
Very interesting.
I've started to, I think before I was doing the podcast, I was very much all about me. And very much in my own world. Even as an actor, I was trying.
Falling into yourself.
Yeah, it was always like I must do this, and I must present this about me, and I must go to auditions, and I all the time. Whereas now I've shifted that focus to be external. Yeah. I'm kind of feeling like maybe I'm opening up my mind in a different way. Yeah. That I'm having these paranormal experienes again.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it is.
It's so weird.
It's weird, and it's like, okay, maybe I'm just nuts. Maybe I'm schizophrenic.
I understand.
I did tell a friend actually recently about this, and she was like, "Yeah, you're schizophrenic. Like you got to be on meds." But then it was like, no, I'm comfortable with this, and like It's not causing me problems, and it's
No.
not causing anyone else problems. And it's not happening every moment of every day.
Yes, exactly.
It's weird scenarios. So in Edinburgh, when I was there, and I was being extremely open and receptive to other people, at that time I saw 3 ghosts in Edinburgh.
Oh, wow.
And like 3 ghosts in a week.
Oh gosh, I bet that was a bit intense. Leave me alone.
Well, it was kind of like, it was almost like I had this energy like tapping on my shoulder, like.
Because I think they can also tell.
So you believe in ghosts?
Well, I saw one.
So you've seen one, so that gives you the confidence that there's something going on.
I trust myself. I think it's taken me a long time to trust myself and my, my experiences and what I believe in. I saw a ghost. They exist.
What happened when you saw the ghost?
It was my 3rd year house in uni, and we went to look around, and I turned to my friend as soon as we walked through the door. I was like, "This place is haunted. There's a ghost here." Like I could feel it.
Tell me more about that feeling before we move on. Was it like because when I get this feeling, I don't think it's an anxiety.
No, it's like when you know someone's staring at the back of your head, like that feeling. Like it's not necessarily uncomfortable. It's just I acknowledge a presence here.
And do you know there's scientific proof for that?
Really?
That we can acknowledge someone looking at you without knowing that they're looking at you.
It's so weird.
There's been multiple scientific tests done on this. They put people in a room with a button, one button saying I'm alone and one button saying someone is watching me. And the statistics for the one where someone is watching you is so high, it's undoubtable. Oh my God. And when so we have instincts that we don't understand.
Yeah.
So you had this instinct as you entered the room that there was something there.
I just kind of knew, and it wasn't like bad energy. I was just like, there's a ghost in here. Which the landlord later confirmed. He was like, yeah, there's a friendly cat that visits and also a ghost. And I was like, cool. But I remember one night I'd gone to bed, totally sober. My cat was with me, and I was just sort of in the dark scrolling on my phone, as you do. And my cat jumped up on the bed, so I like reached out to like stroke him, and I just put my hand through him, and I like looked up, and he was on the other side of the room, and I was like, oh my God, what have I just put my hand in? And it was like this weird cloud. I want to say like ectoplasm, because like that's like what I think it was. And I reacted in a way I never thought I would react. I literally just like took my hand out of it and texted my friend like, oh my God, I've just put my hand in the ghost. You never react the way you think you're going to. Yeah. And anyway, it disappeared, and it was a whole palaver, and no one believed me. And
well, I believe you. I'm sitting here.
I know.
I fully believe you because I've had similar experiences. And one of the experiences that I had recently, this wasn't at Edinburgh. This was at home. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I saw a cloud of kind of ectoplasm.
It's almost shimmery.
Well, I think there's so many different stories of different people seeing things in different ways.
Yeah.
Because we're in this world where we see everything one way. We see like this 3D world, but who's to say that the next dimension on from this isn't completely different?
Yeah.
You know, why does it have to represent this?
Yeah.
And so when I saw this kind of like ectoplasm swirl, it was like blue and white.
Oh, lovely.
And it was going around, and this woman was putting her hand towards me, trying to reach for me.
And you're like, I just want to sleep.
And I was just like, what? And it closed back up.
Yeah.
And there was I wasn't scared.
No, you don't get scared.
I think as a child I was.
Really?
I was a child.
Because you don't understand what's going on.
Because I didn't understand what was going on as a child. One of my earliest memories, and I know it was early on because my sister was a newborn. And I think I'll ever told her this story because this will freak her out. She's going to listen to this. She's going to listen back to this and be like, what? So sorry, Laura, if you're listening to this, but I did see it. But we shared a bedroom, and she was a newborn baby in her crib, and there was an old lady standing over her, and she was stroking her head. And as I woke up, so I know I must have been because I'm 4 years older, so I must have been about 4. I remember waking up, and the lady came over to me. She said, I'm just Laura's protector. I'm just looking after her.
Fair play.
And that's like one of my earliest memories.
That's mad.
And it's not like I'm her protector. Like, that's not a normal thing. Like, because again, if you try and go to like, okay, so maybe as a child I just woke up and there was someone in the room that I didn't, like a friend or family.
Why do you know that word?
But protector.
Wow, that's so
like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay.
And so I saw this woman over my sister, looking after and stroking her, saying, "I'm a protector," and I felt at peace with that, and went to sleep with that one. But then I saw other things. That I saw people walking down the corridor in my house, and I was fearful of them. I was like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And I saw a child playing basketball in the garden in the middle of the night, and I was like, that freaked me out. I was like, that they shouldn't be there. So when I was young, I was freaked out and scared because I didn't understand. Because
they do the weirdest shit sometimes as well. Like this ghost would like run across my room sometimes. I'm like, why are you running? So you multiple times the same ghost? I didn't see him. I knew it was him.
So you knew that.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. So you knew it was a him. You had that. You had that energy.
Yeah.
And and it's just a knowing, isn't it? An instinctual
you just know.
thing.
But it's that being in touch with yourself, and so you're able to be in touch with something outside of yourself.
And then, because I think if you're a non-believer, then you're just closing down the opportunity.
Believe, then you can't. It's like the whole learning thing. If you believe you have nothing more to learn, you're not going to learn anything else. So if you don't believe in ghosts, you're not going to see a ghost, are you? You're going to be like, oh,
But then if you believe in ghosts, could you be having like the opposite effect by telling yourself something? You see what could be the danger of that is like, yes, there was a knock on the like in the room. Oh dear, it's a ghost. Like, there's a danger of doing that, I guess. And that's why it's hard for science to deal with this, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, we don't understand our brains at all, do we? Yeah, I don't know. Don't know what's going on, to be fair.
No. No.
If I'm being honest.
And I think that's such a good place to be. Is just to be honest and be like, I haven't got a clue.
Sometimes I see things.
Just sometimes I see shit, and sometimes I get scared. Sometimes I don't.
Exactly.
Sometimes sometimes ghosts. So when I was at Edinburgh, I was in an auditorium, and so I didn't realise it was a ghost, and so I'm watching this show. And I thought an actor was standing here. And again, you know when you just know when someone's standing next to you. Looming. And I'm like, okay, so that guy's waiting to go on stage or something, so I'm just going to ignore him and keep watching the thing. But I was getting like heavily distracted by this like presence of someone. And then the lights came down and I'm thinking, right, this is going to be their entrance now. Clearly this is their moment for going on the stage. As I look round, that feeling and that sensation just evaporated of someone there, and there was nothing there. So I didn't see a ghost, but I knew...
It's just bothering you.
I knew, like, I know you're there.
Yeah,
when I don't look at you. And there was someone there.
Yeah,
100%.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do understand. It's those spaces as well, I think, like liminal spaces.
Okay.
Like, hold a lot of energy. Like, people leave stuff behind, like auditoriums. I think uni house, so many kids probably came and went in there.
So you did a show at Victoria Hall recently.
Yes.
And I've spent a lot of time at Victoria Hall and had... experiences there. What vibe did you get when you were there?
I didn't spend as much time there as I could have. I think I was only there for maybe like 6 occasions.
Okay.
I wouldn't stay there overnight.
I have done.
But I wouldn't be able to comment on it. I don't think I was as tuned in then as I could have been.
Okay. Do you think that's because you were in the show?
I think because I was in the show.
You was in the show, and so your mind was focused. You had a job to do.
Yeah.
And so you was focused on
the job. Yeah.
On the job and that. Yeah. Whereas I've spent a lot of time there, just being, and not necessarily almost having a purpose at times. And I've always got a peaceful vibe from the place. I've never ever picked up on anything negative. And other people have walked in and said the same thing. In fact, one of my early podcast episodes I did with a group of ghost hunters.
Oh wow!
And we go around the theatre, and they have all their technical equipment, and like they're trying to pick up on readings, and they picked up on a lot of stuff there. And then at the end we do like a séance, which what's really really spooky is my camera cuts off just before the séance.
Really?
It's not recorded.
Oh wow, interesting. Yeah. That is really interesting.
So it's like it wasn't. And when things like that happen to me, I'm like, right, I'm gonna go. Like, I'm not gonna get annoyed about that. because I think there was a reason that shouldn't be shared.
Yeah.
If it would have been recorded, I would have put that out with the rest of this, but something didn't want that. Yeah. And I had a similar thing happen.
That's fair as well.
Yeah, and I think with these things, I had a similar thing happen this morning where I went to put a post on social media and say something and speak up.
And something stopped you.
Well, I wrote the post out, and it deleted itself.
Sign.
Like, I don't know what I did to delete the whole post.
Yeah.
But it went. It just vanished, and I was like, what?
Okie dokie.
like something else is trying to protect me right now, so I'm not going to write that post again.
Whether it's your subconscious, like doing something, just kind of like being like,
yeah, maybe.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, but how does it just go in one go?
Yeah.
How does it just? It literally just went.
That's so weird. Yeah, I've had stuff like that happen before. Can't think of it.
I used to get annoyed with it when things like that would happen, and technology. It's often technology-based things would get mucked up or get stopped, and I would be like, what's going wrong? But if I look back, every time them things went wrong, every time something broke down, it worked out to be the best. Yeah. The best answer. It's
that redirection, isn't it? It's like you are just clearly not listening to yourself. Yank back onto the path.
Yes,
that's what it is, isn't it?
Because then this morning I said to myself I wasn't going to write anything like that. That was my first thought.
And then you ignored it.
And then I ignored it and wrote it anyway.
And then your spirit guide was like, just stop it.
Stop it! No. If you're not going to listen to yourself.
You're working overtime.
Yes, like there you go. Yeah, shut it down. Shut it down.
Gotta listen to yourself.
You have.
Yeah. Otherwise.
Otherwise, I've seen in my life, then that's when the bad things happen.
And we know it happens, and then we still ignore it sometimes, and then everything goes wrong, and we're like, oh, big shock. Like, yeah, no.
So I want to take this back now, this conversation.
Gone off piece.
I want to find out from you where you mentioned you're a storyteller.
Yes.
And you had this calling as a storyteller, and you got that calling at a young age. Take me back to that time when you started to discover that's what it was that's what you are.
I'd say my childhood was quite tumultuous. There was a lot going on, lots of stuff around mental health, and I think for me, learning to read and lose myself in stories and distract myself was really, really helpful. And I read voraciously. I was reading, way above my reading level, just trying to read as much as I could and take it all in, and then eventually learning to write. It comes naturally, and I would write little stories all the time. And yeah, it was just a natural progression from resonating with these really strong female characters in books to then sort of being like, okay, well, I want to write my own, story here. And I don't think there was any purpose behind it. It was just writing for the sake of writing. In an almost compulsive way. That feeling of being moved without consciously thinking about it. And I just loved listening to music, and I loved the writing of music and the way stories were shared there. I always loved, because my dad showed me Krista Burr's Spaceman Came Travelling, and I think that's just such a beautiful story, it's Christ the Saviour. But told in such a way that is accessible, and it's so beautiful, and it will always be in the back of my mind when I think of storytelling.
Tell me about that story then. Tell me, just pretend I haven't. Okay. I've never heard it. What's it about?
A Spaceman Came Travelling. It's a Christmas song, I would say, and
it comes up every Christmas.
Every Christmas, and it's the story of Jesus Christ being born, and the three wise men coming to give their little gifts. But it's told in a way that Jesus Christ is a spaceman who came travelling to Earth, and in 2,000 years' time, he will come again. He will travel here again in a spaceship, and it's it's a sci-fi retelling of the story of Jesus Christ, who we all know, and I just
I'm learning about. I'm actually so I'm very interested in learning about different religions. at this point in my life, I didn't used to be. I used to avoid religion, but I'm actually learning about Jesus at the moment. So this is interesting that you found it, because we don't all know the story about Jesus. I don't. I specifically avoided. I think I was. I think I was an avoidant for a very long time, with lots of with lots of different things through fear, and
shutting yourself up.
I really tried to assess why I was an avoidant, and I think it comes down to, I have an older brother. He's 12 years older, and when I was young, I watched him getting bullied, and he got bullied, I believe, because he was very opinionated. He would speak up. And I would watch him I would see as a child him come home with a bloody nose, and I would see him sad from the treatment that he got, but I also would see him continue to push his opinion and his agenda, and he's always been very strong, and I've always been very proud of him for being so strong in his opinion. But I think watching that made me go, I don't want that. So anything that involves conflict, I'm going to avoid. So I went religion. No, that's a big no. I don't want anything to do with this. And football. Religion, football. I was like,
what's the difference?
I don't want, people go, what football team do you support? No, I don't support a football team. And even when that would go into conflict, I'd find a way to escape that conflict of I just, I'm no good at sports, blah blah blah. I'm just a rubbish human, because I don't watch football. So I avoided those two things. Whereas now I'm becoming more open, and I'm trying to discover what's going on in this world. I'm looking at
I was brought up Catholic, Roman Catholic.
Okay.
And I was baptised. I've never believed in a one God. I wish I had. I feel like it would be quite
peaceful. It's peaceful to have an idea. We're going back to this why. Maybe there's a peace in just being I know.
It seems quite blissful. Just be God, man, how are you? But no, it never resonated with me, and I always found church silly, and the songs, I just thought they were boring. But, I still occasionally go to Mass for Christmas.
What draws you, what continues to draw you back then if you found it wasn't resonating and it was boring?
I'm spinning it in my own head, connecting with something that I think I believe in through that, if that makes sense. And I think that's valid. I think a lot of people do that with their religion. I don't think they might entirely believe everything that they read or, their community believes, but they make it their own thing. And they will make it their own thing because, like I said, you have conversations with people, you're not having the same conversation, same as when you're reading a book. Everyone's interpreting religion in their own way. So, how can you all be worshipping the same God if you're interpreting it differently? It doesn't make sense to me, personally. But yeah, I don't mind. Can have a laugh as well. As long as I'm laughing and I'm not hurting anyone.
So how did this song, this Krista Burr song, how did that then resonate with you if everything else wasn't?
I like science. I did biology at uni. I like facts. Just making shit up as we go along, aren't we? I've always liked science, and I just really like the sci-fi element of it. And I think I love my dad to pieces as well. I love my parents, so him showing me this song felt really special. So it's like a little connection that we have there with something that is almost religious, this sci-fi element that he enjoys, that I enjoy, and the storytelling aspect of it as well. I think I think it encapsulates a lot about who I am as a person. I think, it's a beautiful song.
I wonder if we should be looking at religion with a bit more of a scientific sci-fi approach. Yeah. I've very much enjoyed Ancient Aliens.
Have you been watching Ancient Apocalypse?
I haven't, on Netflix. I've seen it, and I am intrigued by it.
You will enjoy it.
These are good ideas. These are. Well, no, they're not all good ideas. Some of them are completely batshit bonkers. But there are some things in there that the questions that need answers. We shouldn't just shut them down and say, because it wasn't referenced in a book that has been transcribed into many different cultures and languages and
language changes so fast.
So exactly.
Like, so fast, and understanding changes so fast. I mean, look at text, for example, acronyms and things. You know, someone's going to read that in 1,000 years and be like, what are they on? Like, of course they were talking about things in a way that they thought would make sense later down the line, only for us to go,
that means nothing now.
That means nothing now.
And if we just stick to that text and don't explore and trying to find out what that actually means today,
it's a big old puzzle.
Is a big there's some maybe it was a spaceman that came down.
Who knows? Yeah.
And if not, that's a very interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still such an interesting concept.
And sparks your curiosity in maybe looking at your religion in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think looking at religion from a different perspective than the one that you've been brought up with or have found is so important. I think gleaning as many perspectives as you can, that's how you find your calling as well. Like, you know, don't close yourself off to all these different ways of seeing life, because there's so much going on all the time, every second, you know, and we're constantly grieving it as well, I think. Like, you know, the moments are passing by so fast, you know, and I think a lot of sadness and grief comes from that as well. And religion helps us with that. You know, it existed and we should be grateful.
Yeah. So tell me more about your storytelling, so where it's got you now then. As a storyteller, where is this taking you now in your life?
I don't know.
I can clearly see that it's been a blessing for you.
Yeah, massively.
Being a storyteller.
Yeah, massively.
You know, it's given you purpose in your life, and it's driving you forward to go somewhere, and it's given you confidence.
Yeah, I think it's giving me a reason to experience life. You know, I just want to experience as much as possible and take it all in, just so I can write it down. Like, no one has to see it, but just to like filter it through me, put it down, put it away, move on, and acknowledge it, and acknowledge that it's happened.
That's so important.
So
doing it for yourself rather than
for
I mentioned
else.
You've got a purpose, but that purpose doesn't have to be for the entire world. And I think our society is kind of, we're in this capitalist thing that we have to do everything for money. You know, we have to. If you're going to spend your time on this, where is the financial reward? And we can get so heavily bogged down and caught up in that the creative thing, or the thing that actually gives us value, kind of dies a little bit through that, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, it does. I think I want to be in a space where everything I'm doing, I would do for free. Like, obviously, I've got to eat.
Yeah, you've got to look after yourself.
And you've got to look after yourself.
You've got to look after yourself. You've got to eat. You've got to have a roof over your head. You can't neglect the core things in life that give you stability. And so, if you can find an income from your craft,
amazing. The
dream, wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the reason why you're doing it.
No. You just do it out of love, I think. And then if you can get the money, brilliant. Like, that's what everyone wants, I think. So, yeah, hopefully one day I'll be making money off what I do, but not bothered at the moment.
So in the meantime, how do you keep that going then?
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself going as a storyteller and look after yourself?
So I'm very fortunate. I found a job in copywriting. I work for Bondara, the adult sex toy company. And it made me laugh when I saw the job posting. It made me laugh, and I thought, do you know what? I've never laughed at a job description before. I'm going to go for it.
What do you remember about it when you read that job description? What was it that?
I was like, I've never even considered this as an industry I could step into, and it was just after working in the charity sector with young people, and I thought, you know, that'll look interesting on the CV. Interesting story to tell at future interviews. Again, with the storytelling, I thought, you know, why not?
What have you got to lose?
Yeah, exactly. Got the job. The team's amazing. Such a open office. Such strong people to work with. Creative, collaborative. Everything I sort of dreamed of for this point in my life. And you know, now I write not job descriptions, but product descriptions for sex toys for a living. And Yeah, it's the truth.
Tell me about how this is creative then, working in a sex toy business. How is that a creative office there?
So we bounce ideas off each other.
Oh, someone's bouncing something.
Jesus Christ!
The ghost.
Sack the juggler.
It's the ghost.
Lost my thought now.
It being in a creative industry, then how because it might not be considered as very creative. You're selling a product
it's so creative. I think especially when you boil down to those the basic needs of people. You know, food, like culinary skills, so creative and so collaborative in the kitchen. What else is there? I mean, drink is so collaborative, like wines, the development of taste, like so creative. Sex, you know, we have to reproduce, otherwise the human race will die. And it is so creative and collaborative because, you know, you're creating pleasure, whether you're by yourself or you're with a partner. And it should be something that is safe in the same way when you're creating with other people, acting on stage. And I think for me, this job has allowed me to like really collaborate with my own sensuality and connect with those emotions and understand myself from a different perspective and see that it shouldn't be something that is shamed and shouldn't be something that is like, oh, she works for a sex toy company. Like, it's valid and it's creative. I had the absolute honour of going to the Fetish Awards the other night, meeting all sorts of people from the adult industry, copywriters, porn stars, fetish wear, what they call designers, and so warm, so collaborative. It was just an incredible space to be in, and I think the creative industry has so much to learn from the adult industry.
In what way?
Just the lack of shame. I think that is just such a important thing when you are acting, is to not feel ashamed of yourself expressing something. And I think, obviously in Banter Black that you saw me, I played a prostitute. And I found it really awkward at first. I really struggled connecting with that part of myself, and only through my job was I able to sort of shed that shame and understand my role and understand my character. Because if you are, you know, it's body language again, if you are too ashamed of yourself as a performer, you're not going to be performing, you're going to be yourself on stage scared. And no one likes seeing someone scared on stage. It's horrible to watch, and you just kind of want to.
And this takes me back to that. Well, this takes me back to this energy that I saw in you. That I saw that you were completely comfortable portraying a prostitute. You weren't doing anything that was like too smutty or anything that was inappropriate in any way. But yeah, you were so comfortable in your own skin. Yeah,
well, I think we get used to these perspectives as a society of, you know, the archetypes. You know, the prostitute is slaggy and this and that, or dirty, and they're not. They're just a person. They are just a person. They've found something that, you know, they enjoy. Obviously, there's a wider conversation about workers' rights and whether it's feminist or not. But irregardless of those conversations, they are just a person. And that's all I did, was I just played a person who happened to be a prostitute. Like, she could have picked any, you know, career, and that's just what she did. So, played it as such.
So let's dive into the adult industry a little bit more then. So where does imagination come into the industry then? How can that be a safe space that a business thrives in?
Well, the industry is like, you know, it's huge. It's, oh God, I think it's like over $13 billion in the industry, which is a lot of money. You can go straight to the basics of porn. That's got a level of creativity in it. Whether people want to call it acting or not is up to them. But scripts are written, you know. You've probably seen plays that aren't as amazing as others. Then you've got the other side of it. You've got sex toy companies like the one I work for, and that's all about, you know, creating toys and gadgets that help people have fulfilling sex lives, and you've got to use imagination there. There's an element of design, there's an element of pitching and sales, and you've got to get creative with your language there as well to say, actually, no, this is a good idea. I don't know, it's such a controversial area, I think, still, and it will be for a long time, unfortunately. But until people are comfortable having these conversations and integrating the adult industry as a serious profession, no one's going to learn anything from it. And they're learning. They're fine with learning from everyone else. And it's a huge industry.
Why do you think there's this holdback then? Is it the rest of society or the way that we're set up at the moment?
I think it is.
Is it like a societal thing of maybe we're all a little bit ashamed?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's like collective shame.
Yeah, and what I found interesting recently, going back to politics, is the Republicans are seen as being a very closed party to anything like this in the United States. Their followers, they're very anti-expression, anti-gay rights. However, whenever they have a conference, Grindr, the gay dating app, has a peak whenever those people get together. Yeah. What's going on there?
It's just shame.
Is that just it's the shame is forcing they're trying to force that shame onto others, perhaps?
Yeah, I think people can experience such a dichotomy within themselves as well. I think people can, this whole like, oh, I've gaslighted myself into doing this, or like earlier when you were saying, I'm not going to write this post, then you wrote it. Yes. Anyway, it's that's such a like black and white moment inside yourself coexisting, and humans are so complex. We can have like multiple things existing that are absolute paradoxes of themselves existing in ourselves. And because we refuse to acknowledge one out of shame, it's then pushed onto other people. You always displace things that you don't express onto other people. Like, I met a woman who was doing this project. She was photographing people's keys. She said the most interesting thing she found is that artists had the most boring sets of keys. Everyone else had so much stuff on it because they were expressing themselves subconsciously. Because, think of your keys. Do you know what you've got on your keys?
Yeah.
Do you have them with you? I'm like, where are you? Like, you express yourselves in your life subconsciously, creatively, in everything you do. And people don't realise it because they have all these paradoxes going on inside themselves that they can't acknowledge for various reasons. But
this photographer found that artists didn't do that so much with the basics.
Yeah.
Because they were doing it on a wider scale.
Yeah, and they were acknowledging it and they were doing it consciously.
Interesting.
Which is so interesting. So interesting. And,
So until my keys become very basic, I'm not expressing myself to the fullest. Is that what
I don't necessarily think that's true. I think a lot of it as well comes down.
I know what's on my keys. I've got a little Lego figure of a little Superman.
Yeah, mine are a mess. So I think it's also down to personal preference. Obviously, you see things you like and you think, I'm going to whack that on my keys. But I do think there's a truth in that. I do think there is. And same with clothes as well. Like, I love expressing myself through things I wear and my hair and stuff. So, yeah, I think people should just try and express themselves as much as humanly possible. Because I think that is...
And that helps us break free of the shame.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, sad.
It's sort of sad that it exists.
Yeah, just bum each other, you'll be fine. Like, it's fine, no one cares. You care more about what other people are thinking.
No one gives a shit.
No one gives a shit. Yeah. No one knows what's going on, But yeah, it is a real shame because it creates so much grief for other people. So, yeah. So
moving forward then as a storyteller.
Yeah. What's next?
What's next then?
Campaigning for politicians to bum each other.
That's your slogan, is it? Just bum each other.
Just bum each other, guys. I'm so lucky I've met Leo Shepherd.
Have you? I'm a huge champion of Leo.
Beautiful man.
Yeah, I just love...
I know we're going to be like the bestest of friends.
Do you know what? I love his energy. And I love what he's...
Open.
Yeah, and I love what he's bringing to... You meet very few performers and actors that are like, right, I want to do this for others.
Yeah.
Like I said myself, I didn't used to do that.
No.
It used to be all about me. But he's just so
young.
Like, he's so young to be going, I just want to build a community. Like, what a great thing to be doing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like that flow that we were talking about. Like, he saw me perform at Vicky Hall and was like, look, I want you on this project, Essex Have Mercy, the ballad of, is it Big Boys and Men? And yeah, so I've signed on to that. Cast us all together. I love all things, education about mental health, that link with the charity work that I was doing. It feels like an absolute dream to be able to perform at Harlow Playhouse. And I'm just really excited to meet new people and create something new again. And I feel like I'm like dragging myself to this point in my life because I need something creative, but yeah, I've just got to be patient.
But it also seems to be coming to you.
Yeah, I think I've put out into my head, I know that I'm consciously looking for community and creativity and, and it's the spotlight effect. It's, a bias, isn't it? If you're looking for something, it's like angel numbers, you're going to see it more, and I have, and I'm jumping at it.
Wonderful. Well, this has been a really insightful and wonderful conversation.
Good, I'm glad.
I really do appreciate it. As we wrap this up, then, let's say that there's someone else out there, because I think this is something that we touched on throughout this conversation. That we touched on that voice. Let's end on that voice as well. Yeah. So if someone they do feel this nagging, they do feel this something, that there is a purpose. We touched on as well that they should just try things. Yeah. But they're out there right now listening to them. What would you say to them directly?
I would say make what you want to make and don't let anyone influence you at all, and start small. You do not have to conquer the world with the first piece of art you make. It's not going to work. You're not going to do it. But start small and you will be amazed by what you create in a year's time. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And if anyone wants to find out more about you, where do they discover you?
I'm on Instagram girly. I am at Marisol_Holme, MARISOLHOLM.
I really do appreciate you, Marisol. And we're shaking hands.
There you go.
And if anyone has been watching and listening, I'm grateful for you for tuning in. Thank you. And once again, grateful to the Megaro Hotel at King's Cross.
Yes.
Thank you. Wonderful. Lovely.
Thank you so much.
You do.
That was an amazing conversation.
There you go.